Hello, hello, hello. Hi everyone, good evening. This is Lade Olugbemi, as you will all be aware. Thank you for joining. I think I should play some kind of music in the background. Play some kind of music in the background while we wait for people to join. Um, so we've advertised that we were going to be talking today about how to keep safe during this season. So hello to all of those joining me. Hello, hello, hello. This is Lade with our Facebook Live talking today about this season and our mood. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year in advance. And what else? What are the other complimentary words we say to each other during this season? Okay, we'll talk about Happy New Year in advance, compliments of the season, Merry Christmas. It's a season that is very, very jolly. It's a season where you kind of automatically see everybody being happy, and everybody is out shopping. You're out on the street and the shops are packed full. Even when you're in the shop and you have a look at people's trolleys, it's like, oh my God, they're shopping for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. How many people are going to eat all the things they're buying, or many people are going to drink all the drinks that they're buying. It's a season of joy and merriment. But one thing I've realized as well, that it is actually a season. Hello sis, hello Pastor Boadi, thanks for joining. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining. Please share this video, because some of the things we're going to be talking about will be quite important. They're things that you may be able to relate. I think we would all be able to relate to them, to be very honest with you. Because in the midst of all of the merriment and all of the smiles and all of the gifts and all of the purchases and all of that, there is an underlying issue that some people do carry. Hello sis, hello Pastor Shola, thanks for joining. Thank you so much for joining. And also, just to note to people, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them on there. I need to sound a caveat out first and foremost. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a counselor. However, I am somebody that you would call an expert by experience. Expert by experience in the sense that a lot of the things that I will be talking about are things that I have experienced, I have observed people experience, and I've supported people as well in the community. The seasons, the holiday periods are usually times when people actually sometimes do trigger off into mental ill health, if I can use the word. It's actually a time where people put themselves under undue pressure that we don't necessarily need to put ourselves into. It's a season of merriment, all right. It's a season where we talk about, goodwill to all men. It's a season when Jesus Christ came, we all marking, the birth of Jesus. That's why we call it Christmas. And we all believe that it's a time to give things to people and all of that. But underlying all of these things is the fact that compliments of the season out, Augusta. Trust you're well. Compliments of the season, Ruthie. How are you? Good evening to you. Compliments of the season to you, Honorable Bola Olivia. Thanks for joining. Please share this video as much as possible. Please share. So some key things I want to talk about today, like I said, is going to be brief, not very long. Oh, my double princess. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. One of the things that we're going to be talking about is how do we keep safe mentally during this season. How do we keep safe? How do we make sure that we protect ourselves emotionally? Because the truth is, a lot of us actually do get drawn into the activities. We get drawn into all of the merriment. How can you make sure you keep yourself safe? The first thing, or one of the first things I will do, is just need to define what exactly do we mean by keeping safe. Keeping safe to me actually is defined as freedom from harm or hurt. When you know that you are free from being hurt, you are free from harm. And don't forget, specifically, we're talking about our emotions here. We're talking about our mental well-being. When you know that you keep yourself away from harm and from hurt, how do you protect yourself against getting into situations where you're in a family setting, for example, and that uncle or that niece or that cousin, you don't really like, but You know, you just have to be there. You just have to be at that setting. How do you keep yourself mentally safe to block your mind against whatever onslaught that person has for you? We're going to be talking about some few pointers. And don't forget, I'm not an expert. We are all experts. But however, I have my own expertise in the personal ways I've dealt with issues in my life, and you may be able to benefit from it. Please feel free as well to just post some few things on as we're talking. How do you keep safe, for example? How do you protect your emotions when you're in an environment where you know it is extremely difficult for you to express yourself, for example? How do you stay away? How do you draw yourself away from the crowd? Feel very free to, I'll read some of them out. Feel free, and if you have any questions as well, feel free to post those questions up, yeah? So, one of the things that one would expect for us to do in a situation where you feel safe is that you feel that it's an environment where you are far from hurt. You are far from being emotionally or physically damaged or being hurt. So how do you put yourself into that position? The first thing I'd like to talk about is, what does it mean to be mentally aware? What does it mean for you to be mentally healthy? One, being mentally healthy is when you are in a state or in a position where you know that your emotions can deal with the situations that come your way. So, for example, you know that you're going to meet this very argumentative cousin or friend or auntie or whatever, but you have prepared your mind, and in your mind you have actually put yourself in a state where you have said to yourself, I'm not going to be drawing myself, or I will not allow myself to be drawn into unnecessary argument. I will not allow myself to get into any fight or to get into any squabble. I will not allow myself to be under any emotional pressure to give what I cannot afford to give. It is something that you need to determine in your mind. Before you get into that situation, you need to prepare for it. You need to determine it in your mind that I would not allow myself to get drawn into it. How do you keep yourself mentally safe? One of the ways in which you do that as well is make sure you find space in your mind. This sometimes is a little bit difficult to explain because it's better experienced or it's better explained in a session. I'll be giving examples from time to time as I talk on. So, for example, there's a lot of noise around you. And one of the things that I know we've been talking about on the news page, for those of you who are not on the news page, please follow the trend that we've had in the last 1 week. We've been talking about anxiety. What is anxiety? Generalized anxiety disorder is one very common anxiety. Hi, Thema. Hi, thanks for joining in all the way from Syria alone. God bless you. Compliments of the season to you as well. So generalized anxiety disorder is what a lot of people experience. And this is usually where people experience a bit of phobia around being in crowd. And Christmas or holiday season is actually a time where people experience this more. They are scared. They feel like they don't want to be in that kind of setting. So how do you protect your emotions when you get into those situations? First thing that I'd like to talk about is risk management. So for you to be able to manage the situation, you need to know that you're in a safe place, you're in a good place. If you're not in a good place, you need to deal with this. How do you know you're not in a good place? First thing, or one of the first signs that you know that this or I or other people may not be in a good state is, one, when a person's personality has changed. So, for example, somebody who is normally very bubbly suddenly become very quiet and they're very withdrawn. Then you know that there's something just not exactly right here. When somebody starts to do what is very uncharacteristic of them, then you know that there may be some bit of risk, there may be some bit of issues hanging around this person. Also, when the person withdraws socially, so this is somebody would go out normally, is very bubbly, or somebody is very quiet normally, suddenly starts to be very chatty, starts to go out of their way, their dress is totally changed. These are little signs for you to look for. Sometimes people will self-neglect. And what I mean by self-neglect is that they may not be taking good care of themselves any longer. So it could either be the self-neglect or, I don't want to use the word over-neglect. You don't have over-neglect. But in essence, what I'm trying to say is that from somebody not taking care of themselves to taking too much care of themselves. So from somebody who would probably spend about 10 minutes in front of the mirror, suddenly starts to spend 2-3 hours in front of the mirror. That is totally uncharacteristics, and these are signs for you to look out for, either in yourself or for people who are around you. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to talk about in this season is not just about us keeping mentally safe. It's also about making sure that those around us are mentally safe. So those are some of the signs that those are some of the risk factors, some of the things for you to look out for. The other bit again is when people express a sense of hopelessness. So while other people around them are being positive, they just feel that, a terrible sense of hopelessness, that, there's no point. What's the point? All the things that have happened to them this year has been very, very negative. Why should they continue living? What's there in Christmas? Why do they need to, join in the festive seasons? These are some of the things for us to look out for. And you're very right, Ruthie, you're very right. This is when a person behaves suicidal. Yes, part of the suicidal behaviors I will talk about is when people become very risky. They start to, their behavior changes. They sometimes may express their suicidal ideation. They sometimes may tell you that there's no point living. But a lot of the time, people may not talk at all about this. People may not talk at all about their feelings. So how do we keep ourselves mentally safe? I'm going to throw that out to those of you who are watching at the moment. Please feel free to just type them on. How do you keep yourself mentally safe? It's a season when there's undue pressure sometimes on people. Children are tasking parents. Parents are tasking their children. Friends are tasking each other. And it's like you're under, we just have to buy gifts. You have to smile even when you don't feel like smiling. You have to talk even when you don't feel like talking. Put some things online there to let us know, how do you cope? How can you cope when you are in difficult situations like that? How do we cope? One of the things that I usually talk about is, it's almost like a broken record now, but I have to say it because it's a very foundation of what we're talking about mental well balance. It's one of the basic foundation. One, we are spirit, soul, and body. We do need to recognize that we need to take care of the three beings that we have. So we have our body, you take care of it. We have our spirit, we take care of it. We have our soul, we need to take care of them. So how do we keep mentally safe? One, take care of your body. We talk about the soul, I'll talk about the soul. I will do that later. Take care of your body. And one key thing I'd like to talk about on how we take care of our bodies, watch what you eat during this festive season. So a lot of us sometimes get carried away, It's a season where people feel that it's free. It's okay for me to have a glass of wine then, which is fine. I mean, you have a glass of wine as long as it's controlled, you don't get drunk, that's okay. But how do you balance it? One of the things you need to recognize is that if you are feeling very low in mood, alcohol and caffeine are two things you need to walk away from. Avoid them. As much as it would appear that those things actually help you to push your mood up, they are actually depressants. Because what you find out is that you take one glass of, or you have a cup of coffee now, you need another cup of coffee to get yourself feeling better. You find that you need to take 2, 3, 4 coffees to get better. And before you know it, you're having to take 2, 3, 4, 5 cups of caffeine. And before you know it, you get addicted to it. Smoking, for example, for those who smoke cigarette because you want the kick from it, avoid cigarettes. Just avoid it. Avoid anything that you think would give you a false high. Avoid it totally. Alcohol, when you know your mood is low, it's a very erroneous feeling where people think that, oh, I need to take alcohol to make myself feel good. No. Because what will happen is when the effect of the alcohol is down, you'll find out that you are back. In fact, you feel worse. You are back to square one. So avoid alcohol. So still talking about how we keep our body, one of the things I would like to say, and I keep talking about each time, is the link between our food and our mood. There's a very strong link to it. And these are things that we need to keep talking about. As much as possible, avoid high carbohydrate food. For those of us in the ethnic minority community, one of the things that I know that we commonly do is, we eat a very high carb food. So we are like our eba, our fufus. We like our pounded, well, not pounded. We like our pounded yam. They call it pounded, but it's not really pounded. We like our starchy foods. We like our potatoes, all of those high starchy foods. They sometimes do not really help. We need to avoid them totally. Avoid them. Or if you can't avoid them, because, for example, I love my rice. I can take rice in different formats. White rice, yellow rice, red rice, jollof rice, fried rice. Call it, spring fried rice. Rice and peas. I love my rice in all kinds of formats. But however, I do know that too much of it can actually affect my mood. So what are the positive foods that we can take that would help our mood positively? Bear with me one moment as I just pick up where I have done my notes. I actually prepared a quick note that we can use, and some foods that are very good for us, very, very good for us. So let's talk about the green leafy foods. So I know that when a lot of us were young, our parents used to encourage us to eat, take as much vegetables as possible, eat as much green leafy foods as possible. It is true, they are really, really good, because the green leafy foods, yes, thank you very much. Auntie Yemi, thank you very much. You're right. Eat plenty of vegetables and less carbohydrate. Take at least 5 different fruits daily and 8 glasses of water. They are good. 8 glasses of water, they're very good. I'll just list some other types of fruits that are very helpful. They actually do help our mood, because they actually help to create, they increase the dopamine level. So I'll just take us back a little bit. One of the things that makes us feel very low in mood is sometimes when there's a chemical imbalance in our brain. And that's why we talk about depression not being something that people bring to themselves. So it's not like somebody just decided to feel sad or low for a long period of time. It's because there is a low level of dopamine or serotonin in the brain. I'm not a psychiatrist, I already said that before, but however, I'm an expert by experience. These are things that I've experienced personally, and they're things that I have done to make myself mentally well, mentally safe, things that I've avoided when I know that my mood is low. So I've talked about green leafy food. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Avocado is another very good healthy fruit that we can eat. So we talk about fruits a lot. Tomato. When I discovered the benefit in tomatoes, I was totally bowled over. The truth is, a lot of the things that can actually help our mood, they're out there, they are cheap, but we neglect them. We sometimes want to push for, we think that, it's when I go to the spas, it's when I go to these that I feel good. No, there's some foods that we can eat that will directly affect our mood. So tomato is one. Tomato has actually, in a recently published journal of psychiatric and neuroscience, they did a trial, or I don't know what they call it. They did a trial where they found out that those who they increased their tomato intake, that the level of their depressive mood went totally low. Tomato contains folic acid, and it actually helps to curb the production of what you call homocysteine in excess, and it reduces the synthesis of feel-good chemicals. It increases the dopamine and serotonin level. So please feel free to eat tomatoes. Yes, you're right, Tony Amaka. Mushroom is very good as well, but don't go for the magic mushrooms. Don't do the magic mushrooms, because they actually do create some bit of, I don't want to go into all of that. Another very common fruit is apple. Eat apple. Apple is good. Apple actually contains a lot of antioxidants, and one of the things that has been found out is that antioxidants are very good when you have when you take a lot of antioxidants. It actually helps your mood as well. Berries is one. Include all the type of berries. Include them in your breakfast, in your cereals in the morning. Take berries. Berries are very, very good. Studies have shown that people who were given antioxidants for 2 years, I'm still talking about antioxidants now, for 2 years, they had lesser chances of suffering from depression. That's it. So those who are given antioxidants like, that contain quite high folic acid, they actually do help to reduce the occurrence of depression. Another one is walnut. Walnut is very, very good. So eat your nuts. But just make sure you're not allergic to nuts. Some of us are allergic to nuts and would react to nuts. Make sure you're not allergic to nuts. But however, walnut is very high in what you call tryptophan. It increases the levels of feel-good neurotransmitters, serotonin in the brain. Eat your walnuts. Walnuts are very, very good. And the topping for me, this is the one that I like, are dark chocolate. When you are feeling low, pick up, don't do the white one, avoid the white one, do the dark chocolate. Chocolate is delicious. Dark chocolate is especially healthy. It's got what you call tyrosine. It is known to increase dopamine levels in the brain. It also releases endorphins that play a role in making a person feel good. Endorphins help you feel good. So reach out for the dark chocolates when you know that you're feeling low. Yes, you're very right, Tony Amaka. Almond nuts are very, very good. But please, the caveat is out there. Make sure you're not allergic to all types of nuts. But some of these things are things that you would know before already anyway. When we feel stressed, there is an increase in cortisol level. Remember in May, for those of you who have been following, we had this series during the Mental Health Awareness Week where we talked about stress. We talked about how do you know if you're stressed. Can you actually test if you're stressed? And we said yes, that you can actually go to your doctor and ask for a particular test. Let me see those who've been following us well and just write what those tests are. What's the test you can ask your doctor for? The test will help to determine what your cortisol level is. And usually when we are stressed, it means that our cortisol level has gone up high. And what dark chocolate does is that it reduces the cortisol level in our body. So if you're feeling low and you want something sweet, don't do the regular sweet. Do the dark, sometimes slightly bitter chocolate. Go for the chocolates that are as natural as possible. Not the ones that are filled with a lot of additives. Go for the ones that are as natural as possible. Another fruit to eat or another food to eat is fish. So instead of reaching for the red meat, go for fish, please. Fish is healthier. Naturally or personally, I prefer fresh fish because I just kind of have a feeling that, the frozen fishes, by the time you put them in freezer and they've been there for a long while, especially when you buy them in the open market, you don't know how long they've been in the freezer for. So I prefer my fishes fresh. Go for fresh fishes because a lot of it are packed with omega-3 fatty acids. And omega-3 fatty acids actually helps to fight depression because it has that other agent I talked about earlier, tryptophan. It has it. And tryptophan helps to reduce anxiety. It helps to reduce anxiety. So do your natural fishes. As much as possible, don't buy frozen fishes. Not that I'm against frozen fishes. I just believe that, especially, us Africans who buy fishes in the open market, we don't know how long they've been there. But when you buy them fresh, it is fresh. And you can still get all of those things there. So another one is our Greek yogurt. So instead of taking your cereal in the morning, so we're still talking about food and mood and how we can keep mentally safe during this season. So instead of reaching out and using milk with your cereal in the morning, just use yogurt. Do the natural yogurt. People say, oh, let me go for the fat-free and all of that. It's better to have the natural yogurt because you get all the benefits in it. Hey, Presido, good evening. Good evening, Buki. Thanks for joining. Oh, Nemo, to give up meat is a sacrilege. I'm not saying give up meat. I'm just saying go for fish instead of meat. A lot depends. If you want to increase your mood level with your food, there's just some food that's advisable for you to avoid. We're not saying don't eat them, just avoid them. Yes, thank you. That's my big cousin, Mrs. Atosha. Good evening, ma'am. Yes, beetroot is very, very good. Beetroot is particularly good because it helps to increase your blood level. Usually when a person has very low blood count, it does affect your mood as well because, there's confusion and all of that. And beetroot is definitely one food to eat, definitely one to eat. So I've talked about Greek yogurt. Our Greek yogurt is very, very good. It is amazing. It actually contains very good level of protein and it helps in producing neurotransmitters called okay, here I go. I'm going to bite my tongue a bit, but I'm going to call it. It's called neuropinephrine. and it helps to increase your dopamine level. These are key things that are there in the market. You can pick them up, eat them. Whole grains, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread. Avoid white bread if you can. Oatmeal. You know, do the millet, do the barley, do the popcorns, do the proper popcorns. Do all of these things. They actually do help our mood. So the list I've written is not that I've discussed with you is not exhaustive. It's quite a lot of them. One of the things that we're hoping to do very soon is actually to have a session on the link between, we're going to bring a dietitian on who will discuss the link between our food and our mood. There is a very strong link. So one of the ways to keep safe body-wise during this holiday, avoid too much alcohol. It doesn't help you. Make sure you avoid the carbs. Do a lot of green leafy vegetable. Do your apple, do your walnuts, do the nuts. And just eat safe. Don't overindulge. It's one of those things because they actually do link to our mood. Yes, you're very right, Tony Amaka. The berries, strawberry is one. You're very, very right. It's something that we do need to consider. Strawberry is one. Yeah, good talk, my sister. Thank you, Mrs. Atosha. You eat lots of walnut when in season. Fantastic. Almond is one. Papaya is very, very good, especially the black seeds in papaya. So in Africa, where I grew up, I kind of used to expunging and throwing away the papaya. We throw them away. But the papaya, the black seed, they're very good. We're going to have a session later where we'll talk about the papaya, the seeds in the papaya, and how we can use them. I'm going to bring somebody, the expert on board, who's going to talk about it. One other thing that I think is quite necessary for us to talk about, and we'll probably talk about this, we'll probably bring somebody on, maybe sometimes during the holiday season, is the colors, our colors and our mood. There is a very strong link between the colors and our mood. In actual fact, I remember sometimes early this year, we actually brought someone who is a specialist, and she's actually a psychic colorist. We're going to bring her on. Her name is Becky. Becky actually has a master's. You know, some of these things are so unique, you don't even know. Becky has masters in the study of colors and mood. She's going to tell us about colors to avoid, colors that can actually help to lift our mood. One of the colors she mentioned then is blue, red, but it has to go with your personality. So there's a link between your personality and your color. These are very simple, straightforward things that we can actually do to help to keep us mentally safe. So we've talked about our body. Okay, let me just, how do you know when your cortisol level is low? Very good question, Nemo. Normally you would know by the way you feel. But one of the things we talked about in May when we did the Mental Health Awareness Week, remember we had a whole week where we talked about this, is that you can actually go to your doctor because it can be scientifically proven. You can actually go to your doctor and ask them to test your cortisol level for them to know whether you're stressed or not. So sometimes a lot of us will talk about, oh, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. Sometimes the stress is in our mind, is in our brain. We may not actually be really stressed. But there is a scientific way in which you can know if you're stressed. Go to your doctor and ask them to do a cortisol test for you. Mango too, you're very right, you're right. Mango, we can do mango as well. Mango is a good food. Okay, so we've talked about the body. Let's talk about the mind. How do we keep our mind safe? Any ideas? Please let us know. How do we keep our mind safe during this season? How do you avoid those arguments, or do you avoid getting into situations where you know that you cannot avoid, you have to be there? You can't avoid it. You can't avoid, mixing with, kids putting unnecessary demand on you, or parents putting unnecessary demand on their children or family. How can we keep safe? One of the things I say is, you know what? Me is important. I am very, very important. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me. So I need to learn to say no in a very reasonable way. Of course, it won't be in a confrontational way. In a very reasonable way to things that I know I cannot accept. So, one, I set very reasonable goals. One of the things I would say, set very reasonable goals for yourself. So don't go trying to overdo it. If you can't afford to buy gifts for everybody, don't do it. One of the easy things that I've learned to do this year, my children would bear me witness, is that I actually asked them, what would you like for Christmas? Before I would stress myself over and over and over, what am I going to buy them for Christmas and all of that? This year I've just asked, what would you like for Christmas? Because that has reduced the pressure on setting very high standards that I may not be able to meet, and I'm stressing myself. Set very reasonable goals. Secondly, be very, very strong. Stand against negativity. When you are in an environment where you know it is very negative, it is okay for you to excuse yourself. Don't forget what I said earlier. You is important. It is okay to excuse yourself. And of course, Tony Amaka, you're very right. I think the very basic thing that we should do to keeping our mind safe is be very grateful. Thank you for bringing that up. That's number one, actually. Let us be very, very grateful. Be grateful for the little things that you have. Be grateful that you have eyes that can see, you have ears that can hear, that you can lift your hand up, that you have roof over your head, that you have food. I actually have a friend that I spoke with during the week, and she was telling me, actually it was last week I spoke to her, she was telling me that she normally lists down. And I think it's a good practice that we should all do. She would usually list down things that she is grateful for. So one of the first things, get a journal, get a book. I have a journal that I always write my things on. Get a journal that you write things. You don't need to write all of those tales, the things we used to write in our diaries when we were small, those kind of things. Where you write, oh, I saw this person today, this person stepped up. That's not what a journal is meant for. A journal is meant, especially a mind journal, is meant to be a constructive thing where you actually write things down. Your experiences, positive things, where you can write your positive affirmations there. So get a journal and write about things that you're grateful for. When my friend shared it with me, actually, Mary, thank you for that. I know you were speaking to me, but I picked some few things up from there. Write your gratitude journal down. Write them down. Things that you're grateful to God for. Things that you're grateful that you have. Write them down. It's one of the very basic things. It helps to keep you balanced. It helps to keep your mind safe. It helps to bring down the anxiety. Then you get to realize that, the things I think I don't have, I actually have more than the things I think I don't have. Write those things down. I've mentioned already about setting very reasonable goals. Don't do anything out of the line. Keep within limit. Don't stretch yourself too much. Be strong against negativity. So when you're in an environment where you're being pushed down, I say that, I would not go anywhere where, I don't want to use the word celebrated, I would not go anywhere where I know I will not be accepted. So if you're going to be in a place where you're going to be denounced, talked down on, you're not appreciated, it is okay. We're talking about keeping yourself mentally safe. It is okay for you to step back. You don't need to be there. You do not owe anyone. You do not owe anyone, apart from God. And even God would not denounce us. God would not push you down. God would bring us up. He would encourage us. He would love us. That is how God deals with us. So if you're going to be in an environment like that, walk away from it. One other thing that I would encourage is stay calm under pressure. So how do you stay calm under pressure, especially when you're in a situation where you can't run away out of it? So it's okay for me to say all of these things, but sometimes you find ourselves in situations where you can't run away. So you are in a family setting that you can't run away. Stay strong, stay calm under the pressure. So I do a lot of practice, so I practice. So one of the things I do my counts. I call them counts. So I will count 1 to 10 under my breath. It doesn't have to be visible. I'll count 1 to 10 under my breath. Before I respond to people, I'll take my time. I don't jump into responding to people. There are questions that people may ask you and you need to answer. So for example, for the younger ones, this is just an example. Nobody has had the boldness to ask me, oh, Lade, when are you getting married? Or ask, one very unreasonable question. Oh, so where are your children now? Oh, some people are just not very conscious about other people's feelings. And I sometimes wonder why. So they would ask some really awkward questions. So for example, somebody is facing a health challenge And then you now ask them things that are very sensitive. You know, one other thing I'll say, as much as we're talking about taking care of ourselves mentally, let's talk about how we take care of other people ourselves as well in that sphere. Be careful the kind of questions you ask people during this season. Especially people you've not seen in a long while. Don't go ask somebody you know is looking for a job. Oh, I hope you have found a job now. Let's be careful. And let's just be a bit more conscious about the kind of questions we ask people. You know, let's just be sensitive. It's really, really helpful. So staying calm under pressure is something you need to practice. So I practice that. Stay calm under pressure. You count your 1 to 10. I'm not obliged to answering. It's not an interview where I'm forced to answer a question. I'm not obliged to answer it. I will take my time. And if I cannot answer, I will tell you straight away, I'm sorry, I'm not ready to answer that question. That's the truth. So that when you are in such a difficult situation, you keep yourself calm. So you don't fret and you don't get anxious. You keep yourself calm. And sometimes when you know you're going to meet a particularly difficult person in that setting, practice the questions they're going to ask you and prepare the answer already in your mind. You don't have to wait till then. Prepare the questions in your mind. Prepare what your answer will be as well. So you know this person would ask this question. Like an example, sometimes personally, I don't like to discuss my children in the open. I believe it's personal. I'm an extremely private person, very, very private. So I don't like to discuss my children. So when I'm in a situation where people are asking me, you know, you keep poking and poking and poking. I've been in situations where I've actually told people, you know what, I don't like to discuss my children. I'm not ready to answer that question. There's no harm. Instead of me feeling guilty that I've said things I don't want to say, you know, things I'm not comfortable about, I tell you straight away, I don't want to. So you need to practice and have that boldness so that you can stay calm under pressure. Another thing I'll say is let go of little things. Learn to choose your battles wisely. So you don't need to respond to every single battle. You're not obliged to respond to every single attack or every single stone that has been thrown at you. You don't need to respond to every single one of them. Some of them, you just let it off. Somebody wants an answer from you immediately, you don't need to respond. You just let it go. Let it go. Change your perspective is another one. That is the 5th one. Then the 6th one is positive outlook. You need to have a positive outlook to life. I know sometimes when a person is going through depression, the feeling is always very negative. So there's an extremely negative feeling that you just have. You know, you just don't feel like anything would work. You do need to work on positive affirmation. So like I said earlier, keep a gratitude journal. And in that journal, from time to time, write some positive affirmations about yourself. Even if when you don't feel like it, just write them. Write them. I am beautiful. I am bold. I do not feel anxious. I can do this. I can go through this meeting. I can go through this season. Write those things down. I am successful. Of course, all of this positive affirmation, something has to back it. Let me just read quickly through some of the very good pointers here that some of our... Thank you so much for joining, Auntie Gracie. Thank you for joining. Yes, Nemo said here, play jazz. That's true. I play music. Music is good. You know what I do sometimes? That's still talking about the body. I dance. I love to dance. Sometimes I dance without care. And it's a good exercise one. You're physically exercising yourself too. It helps to improve the dopamine level in your brain. So Nemo said, yes, set boundaries, which is a very good one. Set boundaries. Set boundaries. That's a very good one. Make sure you do. Love yourself, however, do not be selfish. Very balanced. There's a need for us to balance that because sometimes people love themselves so much that they're selfish and they're very self-centered. And it is not a good place to be at because you find out that you lose essence and the benefit of loving other people you do not get. Meditation, deep breathing, relaxation exercises, yoga, Tai Chi. This is what Chief Yemi Stars has mentioned here. Know your limit, avoid stressful situation, and toxic people, avoid them. Love each other, says Tony Amaka. Be positive always, says Mrs. Atoshe. Appreciate each other, appreciate yourself, appreciate your family, appreciate your children. Ruthie here says, love irrespective of the hatred around you. Love people irrespective. Minding your business, fantastic one. And that is where the letting go of little thing comes in. Mind your business. Stay in your own circle. Don't poke your nose into other people's affairs. You know, avoid gossip. You know, one of my key ethos in life, anyone that gossips to me about somebody else is definitely going to gossip about me to someone else. Avoid them. I see them as toxic and negative people, so I just avoid them. Keep your inner circle very small. You don't have to be friends to everybody. Yes, be a positively affirmative. Ruthie, yeah, be positively affirmative. Prince Eze, all the way from America, thank you for joining us. Be in control of where you go, what we take in, or what we give out. Cut out thinking what to buy, especially for adults, which is true. Just give them cash to get what they prefer. Keep your mind safe. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tony Amaka says, let go. What will be, which is very good. Bola Olivia says, stay calm under pressure. Very good. Use, feel, felt, found. Pete, I suppose you understand what you mean by that. Don't kill yourself when you can't help. Fantastic. Direct whoever to those who can. Oh, well, but I found it. Fantastic, Pete. I'm glad that you found it. Thank you very much. Very informative point. Thank you so much for everyone who is joined. We've talked about some few points. One other thing that I'd just like to do is that we talked about how to keep mentally safe. Is there is a need for us to recognize that the line between sanity and insanity is very, very thin. And sometimes in the midst of the smile, in the midst of the jokes, in the midst of everything that we see around us, there are lots of people who are hurting, who they will smile publicly, they are alone in the crowd. Let's reach out to one another. Let us be our brother's keepers. It is really important. One of the ways in which I heal emotionally is when I'm out helping other people. I need to be out helping other people. Let's go back to how it used to be, where I know we can't go back to the village setting, but in our own little way. It's a telephone call, just behind the phone. Don't send text messages, they're not good enough. Pick up the phone and speak, hear their voice. There's a lot of emotions that is passed on through the voice. Your emotions is usually projected through your voice. So some people can mask it, but some people, no matter how they feel, you can still hear how they feel through their voice, no matter how they mask it. Pick up the phone and call someone. Call that old relative. Call that very old friend you've not seen in a long while. Pick up the phone and call and just say, I've just called to say hello and to find out how you're doing. Don't be insular. Remember, one of the ways in which you can be mentally safe during this season is when you actually look out for other people as well. It's not all about you. It's not all about me. It's all about us. When the world is together, we make this world a better place. So that's my short spiel for this evening. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined. I can't see all of the names. I can't see everyone who's joined, but I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining. And God bless you. Compliments of this season. Don't put yourself under any undue pressure. Enjoy what you can enjoy. And for those who have experienced loss and are probably missing or possibly missing their loved ones during this Christmas, during this season, I pray for you that you'd find love, that you would feel love, that the comfort of God will be yours, and that you feel the warmth of God wrapped around about you. Don't stay silent. Don't wrap yourself up alone at home in this season. Some may have lost the wives, lost cousins, lost husbands, lost children in this last 1 year, and it's usually a difficult time. Reach out. One of the things that I traditionally do is on Christmas Day itself, in the morning, I go out to crisis. I serve crisis. I serve the homeless people. Just being there for people who you know cannot pay you back. And that's the other thing again. Do good to someone who you know would not be able to pay you back. Buy a gift for that neighbor that you've never said hello to before. Do good to someone who you know would not be able to pay you back. The gift or the giving of this season is not just to those who you know, or those who you know are giving you gifts back. Give to those who you know cannot give back. God bless you, and thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, it's all about the nous. It's all about our mind. So we've talked about the body, we've talked about the mind. I'll just talk a little bit about the spirit, and which I believe is very, very important. It's very fundamental, because it's actually our mind that links. So this is the equation I always have. So this side represents the mind, this side represents the spirit, and this is the body. There's a need for us to link these together. So it is important for you to realize that your spirit is important. It is with our spirit that we connect to God. You need to find our ways back to God. He is important. He keeps our life together. And personally, for me, one of the things that has kept me mentally safe, has kept me against the many vagaries of life, the many storms in life, one of the things that has kept me safe has been the fact that I have had God. He's been my savior, my comforter, my helper. I can't see him, but I know he's there, and he answers prayers. So in those little times, reach out to God. He will hear you. God bless you. Please share this video to as many people as possible. And compliments of the season. I may still come on before Christmas. I may just do a short video before Christmas. There are lots of activities that we're planning for next year. That is the Nous organization. We organize seminars. For those of you who followed us, you know that we're in Nigeria. There's some work that we're doing behind the scene in Nigeria, God helping us. And we intend to go to some other African nations next year, 2019. Woo! Don't forget, if you don't have a gratitude journal, if you don't have a journal, get one. Write things down. Write your dreams down. Write your visions down. Write your feelings down. Not the negative ones. Try as much as possible to make it as positive as possible. And God bless you. Thank you for joining me. Adiola, Ola Prosper, Oladipo Kolawole. Thank you so much. I'm going to call some names. Thank you, Henrietta, for joining. Thank you, Vivian Timothy, all the way from Germany, for joining. Tayo Justina Lumaki, thank you for joining. Pete, thank you. Tonya Shamu, thank you so much. Tola Wise, Onibanjo, thank you. Olabikwasi Jegede, thank you. Mr. Afuye, thank you so much for joining. God bless you. I can't read all the names. God bless you, and see you sometime soon. Merry Christmas. Love you all, and thank you for joining. Bye.